Welcome to SEC Primetime, or should I say SEC post-SEC Championship Primetime, because was that not an instant classic that we witnessed on Saturday? We did not serve rat poisoning to the Alabama Crimson Tide, and the rats ran free. And especially when you look at just the job Bryce Young did, Jamison Williams, John Mechie in the first half. The Georgia wall, we saw some cracks. We saw that as great as a front seven can be, that secondary didn't get a lot of attention this year, and Alabama made up for it. They made sure they got a season's worth of attention in one game. Clint, when you look at this, were you surprised at not only the outcome, but the score and the outcome in this game?
Oh, no question. I was definitely surprised, and I was surprised at the 41-24, what appeared score-wise to be a pretty good beating by Alabama. And if you watch the game, I think that's pretty accurate. I think that was a pretty good beating that Alabama put on Georgia. And hell yeah, I was surprised. Look, I thought it was going to be flip-flopped. I thought Georgia was going to skull drag Bama, no doubt about it. I didn't think Bama had the horses this year for once in Saban's career. I thought he was going to that game and didn't have the horses. And boy, was I ever wrong, because I think there were several things on the Georgia front. Let's talk about Georgia first. For me, there were several things, right? Like, one, the game plan. Like, I expected the Georgia Bulldogs plan to consist of whatever it took to get pressure on Bryce Young, especially after watching Auburn have really 4 quarters worth of success. Derek Mason's defense was lights out, and they were relentless with the pressures. And I thought for sure that Georgia would come out and do some of that. Now, I think they eventually got to it, but it seemed like they may have been a little bit arrogant coming into that game, thinking, well, we can just play our base fronts, we mix coverages up in the back, and we can get away with this. And I'm just going to tell you right now, in hindsight, I don't care how talented you are in the secondary. If Bryce Young can sit in that pocket and process what's going on and get through his progressions and deliver the ball on platform on time, you have zero chance. I don't give a damn if you're Georgia. So the biggest surprise, and I got several, but the biggest surprise for me, Max, was that they didn't come out with a plan to flat out pressure both the Alabama's tackles and ultimately create chaos around Bryce Young. I thought going into the game, I thought that is a no-brainer. They're going to do that. And if they do, it's going to be a long game for Alabama. It'd be a wrap, Georgia win.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I think you hit the nail on the head. Pressure just wasn't there. And, we talked about how great Jordan Davis was, right? And Jordan Davis might have been an outside shot at getting an opportunity to go to, New York if he had a good game. And Jordan Davis, they did a great job of double teaming him. And like you said, because there wasn't that add-on 5th and 6th guy on the pressure, you're able to dedicate 2 men to 1 blocker on a given time. And, and it was just surprising that, it's almost like they went in, I have to say arrogant, but cocky about our 4 can beat your 5. You know what I'm saying? And we're just going to sit back in coverage and just wait for you to throw into a tight window. Well, the problem is Bryce Young has a laser for focus. So when you did have a tight window, it looked like a mile for him. And, you didn't really have a lot of answers for Jamison Williams on the top half of your coverage, with the safety rotations and everything. So it was perplexing. And listen, that second quarter, Bama put on an absolute clinic of how to dismantle Georgia. To hang 24 in the manner that they did in the matter of 15 minutes. Oh my God. You're just looking, you're doing this the entire time. Looking back, you're like, oh my God. They're just, and Stetson Bennett, yes, for what we've said about Stetson Bennett, being a managerial type, this was one of the things where the run game did not come out to play. And so you put a lot more pressure on Stetson Bennett. And, I think this is one of the things where you know, Nick Saban was waiting for this. He was waiting for this, sitting there in the low grass, right? He's just
That's
okay,
right.
all right, yeah, we're third. We're third. Is that what you think? Is that what you think?
Yeah.
I'm gonna show you my teeth. And they had an excellent game plan. And once again, an assistant that we thought would finally topple the giant. We thought young Padawan will become Jedi Master, and it didn't happen. You're still a Padawan. You haven't, you know, Mace Windu is still in charge here, and you have not been able to conquer that feat. And it's amazing to me that no matter the talent, no matter the recruiting, no matter what it is, Saban always finds a way. I mean, he's only been locked out of one playoff since it's been created. Yeah. He's only missed one. He's been in 7 of these. It's one of those things where I have to stop doubting. I really have to stop doubting no matter what I see.
Well, Max, here's the deal, though. You're right about Saban. Look, I'll never doubt Saban again. I'll never doubt Belichick. I mean, I'm over it. I thought the gap was too large this year for even Saban to be able to close the gap that quickly in a game. But here's where we're at now. That game's over, right? That game is over. Right. And when Alabama won the game and Alabama catapulted to the number 1 spot. Okay, we get it. That game's over. As we talk about teams moving forward, there's nobody in the top 4 that should have learned more from their championship game than Georgia. And there's 2 things. Number 1, you're not beating Bama rushing 4, playing coverage. I don't care if you call it a busted coverage or a combo coverage, just man zone crap that everybody's playing. I don't care what you call it. You are not going to beat Bama unless you make Bryce Young uncomfortable consistently. And I'm not talking about uncomfortable around his feet. I'm talking about knocking his head off consistently like Auburn did. Number 1, Georgia goes into the next game. If they get a next game against Alabama, you go into that game with a totally different game plan on defense. And number 2, Georgia learned, which I think we already knew, but we just didn't know how detrimental it could be. Georgia knows right now that they're not winning a shootout with Stetson Bennett. And now I'm not blaming everything on Stetson Bennett. I know right now the tight end, the young tight end, is the best weapon he's got. Hell, it's the only weapon he's got in terms of throwing the football around the park. Pickens is back. We'll see what kind of progress he can make over the next month. But ultimately, offensively, Georgia learned that they're not winning a shootout with Stetson Bennett. So the biggest question of the college football playoffs, the biggest question of bowl season is going to be answered the day that Georgia takes the field against Michigan, right? The week before the championship, in the semifinals, when Georgia takes the field against Michigan, if JT Daniels is the quarterback, their ceiling offensively is much, much higher than it was with Stetson Bennett. And that's the decision of the college football playoffs. Does Kirby Smart and the Georgia Bulldogs, do they ride with what got them there in Stetson Bennett, even though it was clear that ceiling's low and you're not winning a shootout, versus Cincinnati or Alabama, whoever you catch in a championship game, if you do indeed get there, you're not winning a shootout with Stetson Bennett. Do they go to JT Daniels, the former Heisman candidate, the player that, no doubt about it, the quarterback that, no doubt about it, is more confident from the pocket, on platform, in the pocket, staring down the barrel, can deliver the football at all 3 levels of the football field? Their ceiling is higher offensively. Do they pull that trigger? That's the question of the college football playoffs. And I'm talking about all the damn bowls, right? I'm talking about all of them. Doesn't matter. Yeah. That's the one question. We know who Cincinnati is. We know who Michigan is. We know who Saban's going to trot out there. We know all that. The Georgia Bulldogs should be a different looking team on both sides of the football come that first round game against Michigan. And I'm here for it, man.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's going to be an interesting question, right, Clint? Because when you look at Michigan, you look at Cade McNamara and the way that Michigan team is built, they're built very similarly to Georgia.
Yep.
So it's not going to be a high-scoring affair. You know, it's going to be ball possession and which defense is going to inflict pain on the other offense. That's how this game, it's going to be a very old school type of game, you know, where the quarterbacks are, if you don't have JT Daniels in right state, Stetson Bennett, Cade McNamara, they're like right here. They're like right here. So you're looking at, okay, how are we going to do when it comes to a James Cook, when it comes to those type of running backs in the backfield against Hassan Haskins and cover, right? The run game is going to be at a premium in this game. And then you got bullying defense. Aiden Hutchinson is the one that's going to be there in New York as one of the 4 finalists for the Heisman. And then you have Jordan Davis, right? You have the marquees on each side of the ball. So it's going to be interesting to see how you match up. But like you said, it would be interesting if you do install JT Daniels. That means you're forward looking, right?
No question.
You're forward looking to the championship game, and you want to get him some reps under his belt. Or if you're saying, listen, we got to get through this game to get through it if Stetson Bennett's the starter. So that's going to be a big thing to watch. I'm glad you brought that up because I think that's going to be very key.
Well, Max, here's the deal too. I think there was a lot of talk during the game, during the SEC championship game, of like, well, should Kirby Smart come out of halftime and go to JT Daniels? I want to be loud and clear. I ain't here with all that. When you commit to a dude and he's playing a game, and if he's, I don't care if he's dug a hole at halftime, he deserves a chance to come out in that second half and lead whatever kind of push you can make down the stretch to win that ball game. I know the Tua thing worked out when Saban benched Jalen Hurts and put Tua in, and Tua. I know that worked out, and that was beautiful, right? But I ain't here with it. I didn't like the decision when that happened. I know everybody else did because of the results, but I'm looking at it. I didn't like it. I didn't like a player losing his job in that particular instance and instead of getting the opportunity to bail his team out, he was benched and somebody else had the opportunity to bail his team out. And again, I'm just not here for it personally, right? So I'm glad that Kirby Smart did not go to Stetson Bennett at that point at halftime of the SEC championship game. I think that's wrong in terms of the players. However, now that we've all sat back and we've evaluated the film, I think it's a no-brainer. You cannot win a championship with that low ceiling offense. You cannot win a championship with a quarterback that can't consistently strike effortlessly down the field. You cannot win a championship with a quarterback that's average athlete at best that can move around and versus 10 of the 12 opponents during the year can go get first downs. Like that ain't gonna get it done in the college football playoffs. And so right now, if I'm Kirby Smart, I'm going to JT Daniels. I'm doing everything I can to make sure my boy Pickens is healthy. And we're going to see if we can't raise the ceiling a bit and create a little bit of a higher ceiling offense for these college football playoffs. I think it's a fascinating question or a fascinating discussion to have and a wait here to see what Kirby Smart decides to do, Max. I think it's a no-brainer, but I'm sure he's sitting there having to talk to these kids every day. Probably a little tougher decision in Athens.
Yeah, no, he's definitely got there. He's got a little brown water in his cup as he makes his decision, looking at the sheets. But I think it is important, because like you said, I'm in agreement with you too. I don't like, mid-game transfers. Yeah. You've got 3 weeks here to come up with the best game plan you can against the Michigan team that you saw just absolutely walk the dog on Iowa. Yeah. Iowa got treated how you got treated in your championship game, and you're trying to prevent that. So, like you said, having 3 weeks, making sure that you have a rock solid game plan. You learned a lot. Hopefully you learned a lot in this loss. You learn more in your losses than you do your victories, because you kind of wipe things under the rug and sweep it like, don't have to worry about that. Look, we got this dub, this shiny dub chain. We're good. Now you've taken the loss. Now you got to start from your wounds. You got to learn. And like you said, it's going to be pressure. Pressure is at a premium. You must establish that. Get back to your roots. It's not going to be 4-man pressures that are going to win this game. And then, like you said, how do we change the narrative on the offense? Yes, when you look at the final stats of what Stetson Bennett, you say, not bad, right? 340, over 50% completions. They got 2 interceptions, though. But then you look across, the other guy's a Heisman favorite, and you're like, okay, this dude threw for 420 yards on our defense that has been allowing over 150 yards pretty much all year. Yeah. So you need to rewrite that. And
Max,
people are looking at your secondary.
Max, the thing is when, and I don't want to beat the dead horse of these two quarterbacks. Yeah. Look, it's clear JT Daniels is the better quarterback here. But Stetson Bennett is a guy that from a game plan perspective, we're not talking about a slight difference where coaches go, it really doesn't matter who starts, man. They both have their own advantages. They both have their own strengths that are different. But I mean, no, these are like the defensive game plan for whoever Georgia's playing is totally different if Stetson Bennett's a quarterback, right? I mean, in my opinion, you can track down and clamp down your coverage because of the lack of arm strength, the lack of ability to drive the football down the field, right? You can spy a defender to keep him in the pocket. I mean, there's a lot of different things that you can do versus Stetson Bennett that you just, that you just can't do if JT Daniels is the quarterback. So we'll see what they do there. Look, here's what I know is if Georgia goes into this Michigan ball game as is, man, look, this is George Foreman, Larry Holmes in their early 50s. I mean, this is two greats, big bodies, just leaning on each other, slapping around until the bell rings and somebody ends up winning that ball game. So I hope it's JT Daniels because then Georgia has a little bit of advantage in the strikeability department. But we'll see what happens. I hope it's not George Foreman, Larry Holmes in their early 50s. I hope not.
Yeah. You hope it's more rumble in the jungle, right?
That's right.
Yeah. And now a quick message from our sponsors over at BetterHelp. Is there something that's preventing you from achieving your goals or interfering with your happiness? Well, if there is, let me tell you guys about BetterHelp. Professional help done securely online. Check out betterhelp.com/primetime. BetterHelp will assess your individual needs and match you with your own licensed professional therapist to allow you to connect in a safe and private online environment. It's so convenient. You can start communicating in less than 48 hours. BetterHelp is not a crisis line. It's an avenue to accessing professional therapy without having to sit in an uncomfortable waiting room. BetterHelp has licensed professionals who specialize in depression, stress, anxiety, as well as relationship and grief counseling. You can message your counselor at any time and get timely, thoughtful responses. Plus, you can schedule weekly video or phone sessions. Find the particular expertise you need online. Don't limit yourself to the counselors located near you, and do it in a manner that is more affordable than traditional offline counseling. Financial aid is available. So many people have been using BetterHelp that they are recruiting additional counselors in all 50 states. I want you to start living a happier life today. As a listener, you'll get 10% off your first month by visiting betterhelp.com/primetime. Join over the 1 million people who have taken charge of their mental health. Again, that's BetterHelp, HELP.com/primetime today. We'll give a little bit of attention to Alabama and Cincinnati in this, which, I mean, when you look at it on the surface, you're like David versus Goliath, right? I mean, this is how you look at it with Cincinnati. But I listen, I think Cincinnati has the offensive capability. Like you said, you talk about having a quarterback who can go high powered. I think Desmond Ridder is that guy who can go high powered. The question is, are you going to be able to apply enough pressure to Bryce Young to make him feel uncomfortable? You know, I think that's the key. That's the key.
Look, I mean, here's the deal, Max, is Cincinnati's playing with house money, man. I mean, I wish they would have caught Georgia or Michigan because then you've got a little contrasting style. But nonetheless, I mean, Cincinnati ain't got no choice. Cincinnati can't be arrogant or cocky, whatever, like Georgia did coming in against Alabama. They got to watch the Auburn film and go, well, we got one shot. We got to bring one more hat than they can block, and we got to hit that quarterback all day long. We hope we get some tip balls. We hope we get some sacks. We hope we get some TFLs. And then on offense, right, you got a very similar style to Bama. I mean, it's not as explosive, obviously, but when you talk about a well-oiled, high-level executing offense, that's who Cincinnati is, man. You look at Cincinnati's offense and Desmond Ridder. I mean, dude's processing at an extremely high level. I mean, he's making, like, when you talk about throws, when you turn the film on, some dudes are just making easy, you know, the old post route over the top or the corner or the go route. I mean, those are easy throws for a quarterback, right? You just throw it up and hope you got a better dude on the other end of it to go make the catch. When you flip on Desmond Ridder's film, there's several throws every game where you're like, man, the degree of difficulty there was through the roof. Dude had a linebacker staring down he's staring down the barrel of a linebacker. It was a weird angle on the wheel route, and he had a safety over the top, and the dude drops it in the hole somehow, like in a garbage can on the sideline at 26 yards down the field. I mean, dude is executing at an extremely high level, and what Luke Fickell and the Cincinnati Bearcats are asking him to do offensively, the degree of difficulties up there. And so when you look at these two offenses, Alabama and Cincinnati, you go, these are two of the more not exotic. What am I looking for? I'm looking like what they do is most colleges aren't doing it. Like most college quarterbacks aren't executing these types of offenses. Yeah, like I mean, you got a bunch of offenses that are trying to play up here, but their quarterbacks can't figure it out. And then you got a bunch of quarterbacks that are really good, that are playing in some really vanilla schemes because they're better than everybody else. Very rarely do you find a team that's got this offense that's exotic, it's creative, it's top level offense. And then you got a quarterback that's right there that's executing at that high level too. Both of these teams, Alabama and Cincinnati, they have that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, Desmond Ritter's looking at, just shy of 3,500 yards passing, 30 TDs, 8 interceptions. I mean, that's a guy going against. I mean, look at the last game and say, he only attempted 17 passes. They were running roughshod over Houston, so he didn't need to, you know what I'm saying, throw it as much. But like you said, the passes he did make were absolutely some of the passes that needed to be made and that are very hard to do.
Yeah, Max, I think we can look at the U of H. I mean, they were 0 for 8 on third down and 0 for 1 on fourth down. I mean, we can look at that and like you said, he threw it 17 times. That you're going to do more than that in a championship game, right? Yeah. But I believe, I don't know if I believe it or not, but look, I'm excited to see if Desmond Ridder and the Cincinnati offense can do against Alabama what they've done willingly, whenever they need to, whenever they had to. It's almost like they could turn it on in the second half and just go chew up teams. And I know it was lesser talent, but still, it's hard to do that on air consistently, much less turn the faucet on and off whenever you want to and go win a ball game. So I don't know if Cincinnati can do it. I'm a betting man. I'm going to bet they can't. I don't think they can stay close to Bama. But I'm here for the matchup. I'm here for the excitement. I'm here for the build-up, no question about it.
Yeah, I'm here to see a group of 5 team finally break through.
That's right.
This is now the actual time where we can say, listen, it happened. We don't have to guess. We don't have to speculate. We don't have to piss and moan about it. No, it's happening. You wanted it in group of 5. Here it is. Yeah. You're taking on the juggernaut. You know what I'm saying? So go ahead. Let's see what you got toe to toe. And maybe we get a Boise State type of situation, right? Maybe we get that team that can actually go over and topple Goliath. But for right now, I'm not betting against it because the Goliath you picked happened to be the one Goliath that nobody ever wants to see in this round. You know what I'm saying? Unless you're Ohio State the first year when it happened, that's it. When they come in, they steamroll. So,
Max, I'm here for it, man. Look, I mean, there are 66 group of 5 teams, I believe is the number. Yeah. And I'm here for the betterment of college football. And I'm sure we're going to go to field of 12 eventually. They're going to expand the playoffs. But right now, starting next year, there are 66 more teams. I'm not going to try to do the math. I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed. But there's 66 more football teams in America that can all summer long. They can prep with a different motivation, right? They can work out. And then when the season starts, there's 66 more teams that go, hey, if we go undefeated, we can get in. It's not hearsay. We don't have to believe what the coach says. All we got to do is look at the 2021 college football playoffs. Is there a lot of chaos above? Sure. But that team took care of their business in Cincinnati, and now they're being rewarded with it. And that is unbelievable for college football in general, in a sense of those 66 teams being able to have a different outlook to their season every single year until they expand the playoffs. I love it, man.
Yep. The message there, stay the course. Stay the course.
That's right. That's right.
That's all it is. That's all it is. Now we've got a precedent. The precedent has been set. So now all we have to do is follow the blueprint. And the blueprint is just win, baby, win. Al Davis style, right? That's what you have to do. So we kind of talked about it. We kind of looked over college football playoffs. Obviously, we saw where the Final Four ended up. Bama 1, Michigan 2, Georgia 3, Cincy 4. We also had our bowl selections. I'm looking at it. I mean, I liked where a lot of the teams and the schools went. There was none that really jumped out like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to see this matchup. But I think there's a lot of good ones. I mean, I'm not gonna I'm not going to sit here and say, oh my gosh, I can't wait for, the Gator Bowl, but I think, I look at it and I'm like, I'm happy with where a lot of guys went. It was good to see Ole Miss jump in there and get a January 1 bowl. I thought, Lane Kiffin and company, they did a good job.
Max, it was huge. What the hell are you talking about, baby?
Yeah.
It was huge. I mean, look, when Bama got in, when Bama for sure got in and they beat Georgia, that automatically put 2 in the college football playoffs, bumped Ole Miss up to a New Year's 6, and then what that do to my Razorbacks, baby, and everybody else in the SEC. But what they do to my Razorbacks, hey, look out. We had a hell of a year, 8-4, had some good dubs. They were sitting there excited to be bowl eligible. But guess what? And Bama goes out there and does us a favor. We're sitting right here. And we go, let's go a little bit better bowl. Hell yeah, it matters. I mean, all these bowl teams, everybody jumped up a level of a bowl game, if you will, because of what Bama did, because of what of Ole Miss jumping in that New Year's 6. Look, I'm here for it, man. I think there's a lot of kick-ass football games, man. You mentioned Ole Miss. Ole Miss Baylor's going to be killer. Lane Kiffin versus Aranda. Are you kidding me? That defense that we just watched shut down Oklahoma State in a championship game. I mean, I think that's going to be a killer matchup, man. You look at, I love the Kentucky-Iowa matchup. The Stoops brothers got a ton of history at Iowa. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and so
exactly.
That's going to be badass. And man, look, who in the hell, Big Max? Who in the hell would have thought that my Arkansas Razorbacks would have been 8-4? And I'll be damned if they ain't. Hey, Big Max, them some bitches they're favorites against Penn State. $10 million a year coach, national championship talking before the season started. And they're favorites. And we're going to Florida, baby. What do you know about Florida, Big Max? You know what?
Tampa Bay. Hey, listen, I went my last 2 years in a row, and I was like, you know what? I went to Sugar, I went to Orange. But dang it, I had a blast in Tampa Bay for those bowl games. I had an absolute blast. And so I couldn't be happier, for Sam Pittman and that Razorback crew. Hey, don't let me catch you on the beach with your toes in the sand with a Corona, okay?
Hey, I'm that ginger chest hair is going to be hanging out. I'm pasted in a sun bitch. Hey, toes up. Silver bullet in hand, baby. Come on down. Let's have a tequila when the sun goes down, man.
Hey, I will definitely toast to that. I mean, I look at it and, it's an interesting matchup for me, and it's not because of my alumnus or my bias here, but I'm actually looking forward to seeing the Gasparilla Bowl, which of course is Tampa Light for a bowl game. But going against UCF, I thought this was interesting because Florida UCF is never matched up, right? I mean, Florida did play USF this year, but they never like to play teams in the same recruiting regions. And so Florida's forced now to play UCF, which Gus Malzahn has a history against the Gators. And,
sleep if you want to.
Yeah, sleep if you want to. So, I mean, that could be a huge, especially when you talk about the recruiting, right? Yeah. You're recruiting, trying to get these kids in the last couple of minutes, trying to turn some guys that might not do the early signing. This is a huge game. This is a statement game. Even though Napier won't be coaching it, it'll still be interesting to see how this influences his reach and what he has to do, because you're going to lose a leg up. You don't beat UCF and you're big bad Florida. That's going to hurt. That's going to be
this a must-win game. I mean, look, I don't buy into bowl games or vacation. I mean, for some teams they are. Look, for Ole Miss, it doesn't matter. I mean, I hope they win, but it really doesn't. I mean, they've done enough. He got his little extension, or not little extension. He got his extension. Lane Kiffin did. Corral didn't get the Heisman love that he probably should have, but they going to the league. I mean, they've done enough. But there's a handful of these ball games, man. Like Missouri go out there and lose to Army. Come on, man. You're in the SEC. Hey, and Florida, I mean, look, again, I'm going to go back, Max. You know this more than anybody. This ain't Florida State. This ain't Florida, Miami, but it's Florida versus another Florida school, right? Yeah. It's Florida with a new head coach just sitting up in that press box watching. Let's see which one of these dudes down here sleepwalks through the bowl game. Let's see which one of them don't take this game serious enough. Let's see which one of these cats down here playing don't realize the magnitude of Florida being 500 in the SEC East. And they don't understand where we got to go and don't understand that right now. Not next year when Napier literally is on the sideline, but right now, this second. There's no doubt about it to me, Big Max, that Napier it probably has. If I'm a betting man, which I am, I would bet that Napier walked in that meeting room and said, look here, I got my eye on you. You young cats, what you do over the next month and what you do in that game right there is going to impact where you start with me. You're going to start third on the depth chart, fourth on the depth chart, because I don't care. Right? Or you're going to start where you're at right now at a starting position. Right? Sleepwalk through this if you want to. But I'm telling you, there's going to be consequences and repercussions. And to me, that's extremely powerful when you're already more – look, they're more gifted than a 500 football team. They're more gifted than Central Florida. Man, this is one of them games where I think it's a must-win for Florida for all the reasons you mentioned, recruiting reasons and such.
Yeah.
The bragging rights in the state. But really, hey, you got a new sheriff in town, boss. You better mind your P's and Q's and be ready to play.
Hey, you only get one shot at making a first impression.
That's it.
and this is your one shot. And not only is it in-state game, but it's against in-state opponents. That's the other thing that makes it so gripping. Nobody else has that, right? Nobody else is playing against somebody in their own state. You know, I look at it and I'm like, dude, this is humongous for you because this is your shot, right? This is pulling up the flare, boom, firing in the air like, hey, Florida's here. You know, we're better than Florida State. We're better than Miami. Look at where those two programs are. UCF is here and they're bowl eligible, only other one in the state. We got to go prove it. We got to go snatch that victory and let them know, hey, listen, little brother, you're still a little brother.
That's right.
Big bro's coming. Big bro's coming. And guess what? I got a brand new bag. I got some new buddies with me. Name's Billy Napier. You know, and so yeah, you're absolutely right. But I mean, I look at it, no, it's great across the board. It's great across the board to see all these different games. You know, action will kick off first. What is that? It will be our game. No, I'm sorry. Missouri Army will be the first one on the 22nd. Then we followed up the second, and then we got the Birmingham Bowl with Auburn and Houston. By the way, have you seen that new Birmingham Stadium?
No.
Oh my God, gorgeous! It's not the old gray lady anymore. Not the old gray lady anymore. They moved a new one downtown, built a brand new facility. The UAB kind of spearheaded. It's a beautiful facility. So I can't wait to see that on TV. I didn't get to do a UAB game this year, so I didn't get to go down there. But that's going to be a beautiful stadium. I mean, I love where that's at. But yeah, like you said, man, I mean, we got some good ones. We could talk about some of the other schools.
That's a $50. That's a $50 fine, Big Max. That's a $50 fine.
Listen, it's the house phone. How many people still have house phones? You know what I'm saying? I'm like, that's what makes it tough. Yeah. Everybody, hey, you can always silence your cell phone, but remember when that house phone rings, that means you can't silence that bad boy. You just got to get away from it.
That's great.
Oh, no, man. But you know, Clint, like next week, over bowl season, we're gonna dive into these teams a lot more. This was just kind of a little preview, but just to whet the appetite, get a little excitement going for SEC bowl season. So it's a good start, though. I really like where all the teams landed.
I mean, what did the SEC have? 13 of 14 or 12 of 14? Was it 13 or 12?
I think it was 12 of 14. The only ones that didn't get in was Vandy and who was that on the Vandy and South Carolina got in.
No, it's 13. It's 13 of 14.
Yeah. So only Vandy. Vandy is the one that didn't get in.
I mean, here's the deal, man, and I'd be willing to, I'd be excited to do more podcasts to break down each game, that kind of thing, man. But the bottom line is the SEC again. It's the powerhouse, and everybody likes to talk about, well, it's spearheaded by Bama, which is true. Hell, every conference in America has a top team or top two teams that kick everybody's ass all year long, right? I mean, it's part of college football. Everybody can't be an elite program. But ultimately, when you look at the SEC, and I said this from jump, The reason that the SEC is the best conference in America, right, is because what we're looking at in bowl season. 13 of 14 teams are bowl eligible, and 13 of 14 teams have a legit shot to win their football game. I mean, there's going to be a couple of underdogs. There's going to be a couple underdogs, but it wouldn't surprise me if 90% of the teams that got into bowls didn't win games. I mean, this conference, top to bottom, is by far the best in America, and anybody that says any difference, in my mind, for what it's worth, loses credibility.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, you look at it, like you said, to have almost a clean sweep, that these guys were all bowl eligible means we hit 500. It wasn't like, hey, we're trying to talk about graduation rates to qualify them to get them into a bowl game. No,
right.
They went out, they won games. And so it's testament to them. And also it's a kudos to the young men, right? That stayed the course, that committed themselves, not only as, athletes of the university, but students as well, to make that dual sacrifice, to have that duality of responsibility in college. It's a true testament. Let them, this is their celebration. Like, your hard work paid off at the end of the year. So go enjoy, have a couple of days, let the bowl committees wine and dine you a little bit, go have some fun, ride some jet skis if you're near a beach, do some activities. But this is a celebration of those kids. And the fact that, in our conference, 13 schools get that opportunity, 13 teams get to do that. I mean, it may let yes, Bama is the prop that leans it up, but the other teams still have to go win. You still have to make yourself available. It's not just, oh my gosh, we're just collecting money from one. Y'all go out and win. This is a big payday. This is a big payday for
ain't no doubt. Big Max, let me pay this thing off, man. My man Sam Pittman and them Arkansas Razorbacks, baby. One more time, Big Max. Hey, look here. I greatly appreciate what Sam Pittman and them Razorbacks are doing. But let me tell you why, Big Max. December the 29th happens to be my birthday.
Oh.
January 1 happens to be New Year's Day. And somewhere in between them two falls New Year's Eve. And I want to thank Sam Pittman and them Arkansas Razorbacks for allowing me and my beautiful wife, who's going to be about 7-8 months pregnant by that time. I want to thank y'all in advance, because we're going to be sitting on that beach, toes up, as I said, Ginger Nation, red chest hair, pasty than a sumbitch.
There it is.
Drinking a cold Coors Light. Not my wife. She's going to be sitting over there drinking a little lemonade or something. But we're going to have a hell of a birthday, hell of a New Year's Eve, and a hell of a New Year's Day. Thank you, Sam Pittman. I appreciate it. Go Hogs.
There we go. Hey, nothing else left to be said right there. As you saw, this is SEC Primetime. He's Clint Stoerner. I'm Max Starks. We'll see you guys next week. We can't wait to actually get into more of our stuff, because our proud sponsors at Bet Rivers always give us lines. We'll get into that as we get into Bowl Mania. But thank you guys for tuning in. Remember to continue to subscribe, click, send your comments. We love it all, and we'll see you next week.